My children, only 2 territories of the United States will escape the flood that will come from the sky, according to a warning attributed to the Virgin Mary. And while you rested, unaware of anything moving beyond the visible, an 87-year-old woman awoke in despair in the middle of the night, screaming with a strength that did not match her frail body. Her eyes, once dimmed by time, now burned like live embers, frightening even her daughter, who was already accustomed to her mother's visions. When she stammered through tears, she returned. The woman, enveloped in blue light, returned, and this time she wept tears of blood while showing me maps being swallowed by boundless waters. What this simple servant of God witnessed in that silent hour has the power to completely change how you face the coming months of your life. And don't think you arrived here by chance. Among millions of digital voices, something greater guided you to these words. And now, at this decisive moment, write in the comments. God is restoring my soul because what is revealed is not just another frightening prediction. It is an urgent call confirmed by 3 seers in different regions, all in the same period, all consumed by the same event. Fear and hope, which transcends human logic, fueled Dona Conceição, known to few but feared for what she gets right. She had already announced the pandemic years before and warned about floods long before they happened. Now her voice falters as she describes what she saw. The waters will rise suddenly, not like ordinary floods nor like the slow processes of nature, but with fury, as if the sky were bursting into tears over a nation that has strayed from the sacred. First will come 3 days of absolute darkness, not a simple darkness, but the total absence of light, a shadow so dense that not even fire will be able to break through it. And in those days, sounds never before heard will echo in the heavens like trumpets announcing something humanity has never experienced. And when the light finally returns, the waters will already be advancing. What silenced Dona Conceição for 2 days was the clear vision of 2 states enveloped by a dome of golden light so powerful that the waters parted upon touching it, like the Red Sea before Moses. And none of this was random, for these lands carry ancient promises, consecrations made in the dawn of history, entrusted to the perpetual protection of the Heavenly Mother. The signs have already begun. Fishermen from the northeast report entire schools of fish swimming against impossible currents, as if fleeing something invisible, while marine scientists are confused by strange readings at the bottom of the Atlantic. Movements that don't fit any scientific pattern coincide with indigenous prophecies about the return of primordial waters. According to the seer, Maria appeared dressed not in light blue, but in a deep, almost black blue embroidered with living stars. Her feet touched agitated waters that rose rapidly, and in her hands there was not a rosary, but a luminous map where only 2 points shone intensely. "My beloved children," she said in a voice that seemed to come from the beginning of time. The chalice overflowed. "The tears I have shed for decades will now become waters of purification." The second seer, a 23-year-old woman, received the same vision and saw families waking up to the sound of water hitting high windows, people running while the ground crumbled beneath their feet. And the most disturbing thing was realizing that in the 2 protected states, everyone slept peacefully, completely unaware of the chaos that was engulfing the rest of the nation. Open your eyes, not only those of the body but above all those of the soul. Look around and see how humanity walks wearily, wounded, and divided. Wars multiply, destruction becomes routine, and fear begins to take the place of hope. Many already speak of a great war that could engulf the whole world, and this news weighs on spirits like a thick shadow. My children, I do not speak to you to spread panic, but to awaken consciences. When man turns away from God, he creates with his own hands instruments capable of harming his own creation. The danger is born not only from weapons, but from the hardened heart, from the pride that refuses to listen, from power used without love and without responsibility. What the world calls a bomb is not just an object, but the ultimate symbol of a humanity that has lost holy fear and respect for life. If such forces are unleashed, the effects will not be limited to one place or one people. The earth will groan, the seas will churn, the climate will become more severe, and creation, entrusted to man, will respond to the wounds it receives. More intense natural disasters arise when order is broken, and many will be confused, wondering how everything could change so quickly. My children, when I mention lands and regions that may feel the tremors first, I do not do so to point fingers or to set dates or maps. Some nations and states, symbols of power, progress, and influence, such as those whom the world recognizes for their strength and leadership, will first feel the weight of their own human choices. Not because they are more hated by God, but because where there is greater responsibility, the impact of the consequences is also greater. Understand this as a call to collective conversion, and not as a closed sentence. Nothing is yet completely sealed. Heaven always offers paths of return. As long as there is a heart willing to change, a family that decides to live in the light, a people that chooses justice and peace, the course of much suffering can be softened. What threatens the world is not inevitable. It grows to the same extent that love cools and faith is abandoned. Therefore, I tell you, strengthen yourselves inwardly. Do not live dominated by fear, but by vigilance. Be builders of peace where you are. Guard your families, your homes, and your souls from hatred, violence, and indifference. When the world cries out for destruction, heaven whispers conversion. I walk with you, even in the darkest times. Hear this call not as terror, but as mercy. There is still time to choose life, light, and the path that leads to true peace. My beloved children, once again I approach you with a wounded mother's heart, not to condemn, but to warn, care for, and guide. Listen attentively, for my words do not spring from a desire to spread fear, but from the urgency to awaken those who sleep while the world writhes in pain. The time in which you live is heavy, and many feel deep inside that something profound is out of order. Wars no longer shock as they once did, violence has become commonplace, and destruction has come to be treated as a natural part of human history. My children, when the world begins to accept evil as something normal, it is a sign that hearts have turned away from the light. The rumor of a great war that could engulf entire nations doesn't arise from nothing. It springs from years of pride, disputes, and interests placed above life. Man has created forces he can no longer control, and plays with fire believing he will never be touched by the flames. I want you to understand something important. Heaven sees not only visible events, but the hidden roots that sustain them. Before a war manifests itself in the fields and cities, it has already been fought within souls. Before any instrument of destruction is launched, it has already been accepted in the human heart as justifiable. That is where the real danger begins. When I speak of a threat capable of shaking the entire world, I speak of consequences that transcend borders. God's creation is one, and when it is wounded in one place, the whole body suffers. The earth reacts, the seas revolt, the heavens seem confused. Many will call these merely natural phenomena, but few will recognize that creation responds to the lack of love, greed, and violence accumulated over generations. My children, some regions of the world bear a great weight of responsibility, for they concentrate power, influence, and decisions that affect many peoples. Where man places himself as absolute master, forgetting God, there the imbalance manifests itself with greater force. I do not speak to point fingers, but to show that nothing happens in isolation. When entire structures are built without justice and without fear of God, they become fragile, even appearing strong in human eyes. Listen well. Nothing I warn you about should be received as inevitable destiny. Heaven does not announce to condemn, but to correct. As long as there is sincere conversion, humility, and a return to truth, much suffering can be avoided or alleviated. The problem, my children, is that many no longer want to listen. They prefer to trust in weapons, in human strategies, in false securities, and they abandon that which truly sustains the world: fidelity to God. I see broken homes, divided families, children growing up without spiritual guidance, young people without hope, and adults dominated by fear and anger. All this prepares the ground for even more difficult times. A society that rejects life, despises truth, and ridicules faith does not remain firm for long. Therefore, my children, this is an urgent call. Awaken while there is still light. Do not wait for chaos to take hold before seeking refuge. True shelter is not made of concrete or technology, but of living faith, a clear conscience, and a heart that chooses good even when evil seems to dominate. Take care of your souls. Watch your thoughts, your words, and your actions. Do not nurture hatred. Do not spread fear. Do not become instruments of division. Be, wherever you are, signs of peace in a world that is preparing for confrontation. Every gesture of sincere love weighs more before God than many weapons before men. I do not abandon you. I walk with you, I weep with you, and I intercede for each one of you. But a mother also needs to warn when she sees her children running towards the abyss. Heed this call while there is still time. Turn to God with sincerity. Strengthen your faith. Protect your families spiritually, and remain steadfast. The world may tremble, structures may fall, scenarios may change, but he who remains in God will not be destroyed. True security is born of faithfulness, and true peace does not depend on circumstances, but on the soul that has chosen to remain in the light. I know that many feel the weight of the times, perceive the advance of evil, the confusion that spreads, and the feeling that dark forces wish to destroy not only cities and nations, but above all faith, hope, and love among men. My children, when evil rises up violently, it is a sign that the light still disturbs. Therefore, I tell you, do not retreat. Strengthen yourselves inwardly. Pray with your heart, not just with words, but with your life. Sincere prayer is like an invisible shield that protects the soul and sustains the spirit when everything around seems to crumble. I call you to a firm, mature faith that does not waver in the face of threats. Many pray only when danger approaches, but now is the time to persevere, to put down deep roots in God. A weak faith easily succumbs to panic. A strengthened faith remains standing even in the midst of the storm. My children, the evil that tries to impose itself in this world does not only want to destroy bodies, but to distance you from God, to sow division in families, to cool love and extinguish hope. It feeds on despair, indifference, and a heart that ceases to trust. Therefore, resist with the most powerful weapon you possess, living faith. Pray, yes, but also watch your actions. Pray and choose good. Pray and forgive. Pray and do not allow hatred to find a dwelling place in your hearts. Every act of love, every gesture of mercy, every decision made in the light of love, I ask you, my children, to take care of your families. Strengthen your homes spiritually. May your houses be places of peace in a troubled world, refuges of faith in times of confusion. Where there is prayer, evil does not remain. Where there is trust in God, despair does not take root. Do not let yourselves be overcome by discouragement. Even if everything seems dark, remember, the night is not eternal. God never abandons those who trust in Him. Heaven acts in silence, sustaining those who persevere, protecting those who remain faithful, and strengthening those who do not give up. Be strong, my children, not strong according to the world's standards, but strong in soul, firm in faith, constant in hope. Evil may roar, it may threaten, it may try to destroy, but it has no power over a heart surrendered to God. My beloved children, draw near to my mother's heart and listen attentively. For I speak to you in a time when many hearts are weary, confused, and wounded. I know that evil rises with strength, that the news frightens, that the future seems uncertain, and that many feel as if a heavy shadow is advancing upon the world. In the face of this, I say to you with tenderness and firmness, be strong, my children. The strength I ask of you does not come from violence, nor from pride, nor from the weapons of the world, but from a living, humble, and persevering faith. When everything around seems to threaten peace, it is because the human soul has forgotten the path of light. Evil grows where prayer weakens, where faith grows cold, where hearts cease to trust in God. Therefore, I call you again, pray, my children. Pray not as those who repeat empty words, but as those who abandon themselves in the arms of the Father. Sincere prayer transforms fear into trust and anguish into hope. Strengthen your faith, for it will be tested. Many desire an easy faith, one that does not require renunciation, that does not confront sin, that does not ask for conversion. But true faith is like a deep root. It grows in silence, withstands storms, and sustains the tree even when the winds are strong. Do not be scandalized by difficulties. They are also opportunities to mature the spirit. My children, the evil that rises in this world does not only want to cause external destruction. Above all, it desires to destroy trust in God, sow despair, divide families, confuse minds, and harden hearts. It tries to convince you that praying is useless, that believing is a waste of time, that loving is weakness. Do not believe these lies. Love is the greatest force that exists, and faith is the light that sustains it. Pray when you are afflicted, but also pray when everything seems calm. Pray for your homes, for your children, for those who have lost their way, for those who spread hatred without realizing that they too are wounded children. Pray for those who make important decisions in the world, that they may not be guided by pride, but by responsibility and respect for life. Strengthen your homes spiritually, my children. May your homes not only be places of rest for the body, but refuges for the soul. Where there is faith, evil does not take root. Where there is trust in God, fear loses its power. Even if the world is in turmoil, a home sustained by faith remains standing. Do not let yourselves be dominated by panic. Fear paralyzes, confuses, and weakens. Faith, on the contrary, clarifies, strengthens, and sustains. Be vigilant, yes, but not desperate. Be prudent, but not hardened. Be aware of the times in which you live, but anchored in the hope that comes from God. Remember, my children, no darkness is greater than divine light. No threat is stronger than the hand of God that sustains the world. Even when everything seems to tremble, heaven continues to act silently, protecting, guiding, and supporting those who remain faithful. I walk with you every step of the way, especially when you feel weak. A mother does not abandon her children in danger. I envelop you with my maternal love, I intercede for you, and I always lead you to the heart of God. But I also ask you, cooperate with grace. Choose good, reject evil, persevere in faith. My beloved children, look sincerely at the time in which you live and understand what is happening before your eyes. Man has strayed from the paths of God and, in doing so, has begun to walk along paths of destruction. He has abandoned humility, despised truth, and placed his own will at the center of everything. Greed grew silently, the desire to dominate strengthened, and many came to believe that power is worth more than life. My children, when God ceases to be the guide, the human heart is easily lost. Man has come to trust only in his own intelligence, in the strength of his creations, and in the illusion of control. He has built systems, weapons, and structures without love, without conscience, and without responsibility. All this was done in the name of progress, but without wisdom, progress becomes a threat. I see with pain that many no longer seek the common good, but only personal gain. The other has ceased to be a brother and has become an obstacle. Life has ceased to be sacred and has become negotiable. Thus, little by little, humanity digs its own wounds, believing that it will win while, in truth, it destroys itself from within. Understand, my children, man's greatest enemy does not come from outside, but is born within his own heart when he closes himself off from God. It is not God who sends destruction. It is man who builds it when he rejects love, justice, and truth. Humanity becomes its own worst enemy when it chooses pride instead of humility, ambition instead of mercy, domination instead of service. The wars you see are a reflection of inner wars. External violence is the fruit of the violence that already dwells in the soul. As long as man is not reconciled with God, he will continue in conflict with himself and with the world. No true peace can be born from hearts wounded by greed and the thirst for power. My children, even so, do not lose hope. Even amidst so much darkness, God continues to call, wait, and offer paths of return. Heaven does not abandon humanity, even when it turns away. Every gesture of conversion, every heart that chooses good again, every soul that surrenders to truth weakens the force of evil that spreads. I ask you, awaken while there is still time. Do not follow the crowd that blindly runs after power and control. Choose the narrow path of faith, humility, and love. Be different in a world that has normalized destruction. Be a light where confusion reigns. If man turns his heart back to God, he will find the meaning of life again and the lost balance. But if he insists on walking alone, guided only by his own pride, he will continue to hurt himself. Choose, my children, life, truth, and love. There is still time to change course and avoid greater pain. Man strayed from God's path not overnight, but step by step, decision after decision, exchange after exchange. Where there was once reverence, pride took root. Where there was once gratitude, greed was born. Where God was the center, man placed himself as the absolute master of all. My children, when the human heart turns away from the truth, it begins to justify the unjustifiable. The desire for power comes to be seen as a virtue, domination as a sign of strength, and human life as something disposable. Many claim to act in the name of progress, security, or the common good, but behind these words grows an insatiable thirst for control, wealth, and supremacy. Man wanted to be like God, but without God, and in this path he lost himself. He created tools without wisdom, technologies without conscience, and structures without soul. He advanced greatly in knowledge, but regressed in love. He spoke of freedom, but chained himself to ambition. He spoke of peace, but fueled war for his own interests. Therefore I tell you, my children, humanity has become its own worst enemy. Not because it lacks intelligence, but because it lacks humility. Not because it lacks resources, but because it lacks compassion. The greatest danger that threatens the world comes not only from outside, but from within the human heart that has rejected the light and chosen to walk in its own shadow. The wars you see do not begin on battlefields, but in decisions made without God. The destruction of nature is born from boundless greed. The misery of many is a consequence of the indifference of a few. Everything is connected, and everything reveals the same spiritual emptiness. A world that tries to survive without the Creator. My children, when man ceases to recognize God as Father, he ceases to recognize the other as brother. Thus, the neighbor comes to be seen as a threat, competitor, or obstacle. It is in this terrain that violence grows, that hatred spreads, and that suffering multiplies. Humanity fights against itself because it has lost the awareness of who it is and for whom it was created. Even so, do not think that all is lost. Heaven never abandons its children. God continues to call, even when ignored. He continues to offer mercy, even when rejected. Every heart that decides to return, every soul that chooses truth, every gesture of love made in silence helps to contain the avalanche of destruction that man himself fuels. My children, do not blindly follow a world that chases after more power and less love. Do not let yourselves be seduced by the illusion that everything can be bought, controlled, or dominated. Remember, everything that is not built upon God is fragile, even if it seems strong. Everything born of greed sooner or later crumbles. Return to God's ways while there is still time. Relearn to listen, to respect, to serve. Put life back at the center, family as the foundation, faith as the cornerstone. Do not wait for pain to teach what love has already tried to show. I speak to you as a mother who loves, but also as a mother who warns. If man continues on this path of pride and destruction, he will continue to reap the bitter fruits of his own choices. But if he decides to humble his heart, recognize his limits, and turn to God, he will find again the peace he so desperately seeks and never finds where there is no love. I see, my children, a humanity that tries to heal its wounds with power, control, and wealth. But the more it seeks these things, the emptier it becomes. Greed never satiates, pride is never satisfied, and power without love always demands more sacrifices. Thus, man begins to wound himself, believing he is protecting himself. Humanity becomes its own enemy when it rejects the truth and chooses to live without God. That is why I call you to prayer. Pray, my children. Prayer is not escape, it is strength. Prayer is not weakness, it is light. When you pray, The heart calms down, the mind is clarified, and the soul remembers who it truly is. Evil fears sincere prayer because it rebuilds what has been destroyed from within. Pray when you are afraid. Pray when you feel weak. Pray when you don't know what to do. Prayer sustains when everything seems to crumble. It protects the home, strengthens the family, and guards the soul against confusion and despair. A heart that prays is not easily lost, even in difficult times. My children, do not let darkness steal your hope. Even if the world is in turmoil, even if the news brings anguish, even if many walk without direction, God remains the same. He is faithful. He does not abandon. He sustains those who trust. Turn your gaze to heaven, but keep your feet firmly planted in goodness. Live righteously, choose truth, cultivate love, forgive whenever possible. Every act of kindness is a seed of peace sown in a wounded world. Every prayer offered in faith is an invisible wall against evil.